Welcome to TeamSport's newest electric go-karting track. Situated in Bournemouth in the south of England, this track represents the latest step forward in TeamSport's expansion across the UK, with state-of-the-art facilities, the latest in electric kart technology, and top-notch entertainment and refreshments. So, why have I just cut the music off? Well, that all sounds well and good, but a karting facility is only as good as the track it races on, so we need to see how good this track actually is. We're dealing with a low traction surface here today, as is usually the case with newer tracks, but as long as the layout is interesting, that can be just as fun as a grippy track. So, let's have a look. Over the line, we've got a left-hander, into a hairpin, into another hairpin, into another hairpin, which leads to an up-ramp towards another hairpin, leading us to a left-hander to a down ramp, which slingshots us down and to the left, where at the bottom there's a hairpin, followed by another hairpin, and then we bear left to cross the line. That's it? 9 corners and 6 of them are hairpins. TeamSport's track layouts, of course, widely vary, from the roller coaster ride that is High Wycombe, to the fast and technical Warrington, all the way to the frankly underwhelming, barely disguised figure of 8 that is TeamSport Nottingham. Bruh. But this is, well, on paper, kind of a new low. To have a track this short be comprised of 70% hairpins is not a good sign. But paper means nothing compared to practice, really, so I decided to hit the track in some public sessions and see how it goes. So, let's do this, shall we? So, after waving sayonara to my family over there, I wait for the lights to go green so I can get the jump on kart number 10 right here, which I do perfectly, and then we come around the first corner where someone is going very slowly in the second corner, but fortunately not in the way, so I just managed to slip past them. Now, I'm following this guy in the white patterned helmet in front of me. It's actually a really nice looking helmet. I'm already starting to feel the effects of the low traction, but up here is where the low traction kind of smooths out and the track becomes less bumpy, so I do my best to follow him as we come down this down ramp. I get a vague sniff down the inside of the down ramp, but obviously that's not going to work. Then the lights go red for the mandatory light check, so let's just quickly skip past that. And in classic Say the Line Bart fashion, the lights go green and let's go racing. I immediately botch up these hairpins because my entry is absolutely screwed, and already you can see that I'm hitting the speed boost button in where I perceive to be the ideal place to hit it. I didn't get much use out of it because there was a little bit of a cluster of people going on here, but I managed to find it around the outside of the guy in the white helmet, and thankfully because this guy in the yellow suit goes wide, it effectively means that I overtake those two in the same corner, so I'm kind of just siding my way through the pack, because at this point I want to get a clear track so I can try and get a lap going. This person in front of me is going rather tentatively slow, which I kind of understand. It's the first couple of laps on a low traction circuit, and these karts are no joke if you're inexperienced, so I managed to get past them with no trouble, and now it's finally time to get a clean lap going. I go through the first corners kind of sloppily because again I've hit my speed boost in the wrong point, but I managed to get a grip on it pretty decently as I catch up to the back of this person in the pink suit, which I believe is actually going to put my plans of a lap directly in the bin, because this person in front of me is actually on a bit of a slow cruise, which is fine. Again, it's a public session. These people are inexperienced. I get it. I catch up to the back of the guy in the pink suit, find the inside coming into the first hairpin, try and set up a switch back in the second. Fortunately, he goes wide enough in his exit for me to make that work. I hit the speed boost again for some reason, absolutely overcooking my exit into the first corner. I will learn my lesson about that eventually, but for now, I'm just going to continue ramming my head into the wall until something works. I do have clean track ahead of me again, so I managed to take this sequence of corners rather cleanly. Absolutely missed that apex right there because that's supposed to be the easiest apex to hit. But as we come down this down ramp, I try and take this set of corners like a more traditional set of hairpins, which I'm going to find out later is a big mistake because my lines here are just a mess. I'm hitting the speed boost while I'm already sideways, absolutely overcooking my entry into that corner again. I am just drifting now because I haven't done my research, and effectively this is what it does to you. Do your research, kids. A little bit later, as I come around this corner, things are about to get interesting because everybody knows that a pack of karts in a public session usually leads to disaster. So we've got a couple people stationary here. Someone is now nose first in the apex of the corner. The yellow flags come out, which of course makes perfect sense. So I just kind of trail behind these guys right here while he gets recovered. And now that the lights have gone green again, I managed to find the inside line here, but unfortunately not enough exit speed to make that work. The guy in Kart 20 effectively just sideswipes the guy who basically came to a complete stop in the middle of the track. I don't think either of them were at fault there, but, well, he found his way past, so kudos to him. I look for the inside line coming down the down ramp, immediately back out because I know exactly how that's going to end. But things are getting a little bit congested up front here, and because of the tight exits that back markers are usually used to, it meant that I didn't really have a whole lot of opportunity coming through these corners. However, thanks to the guy on the inside here, I managed to find it through the inside of Kart 20, but unfortunately then lose it again coming through the second hairpin, but throw it to the inside of the third hairpin. Why are there so many hairpins? Get past Kart 20, and now there's a few more to fight. The guy in front of me here does his best see your space cowboy, opening up a gap bigger than the width of Portugal. And a little bit later on, I managed to find my way past this guy by finding the inside line on the exit to the final hairpin and absolutely blasting my way past with my ill-advised speed boost through the first corner. So now I've got some clean track. Let's see what I can do with that. Hopefully something good. Now, we've seen plenty of what it's like to actually race on this track, but what is it like to just do a lap? For whatever reason in the first session, I kept hitting my speed boost button right here, which was a critical mistake because it meant that I was understeering coming into the first corner, which of course sabotaged my line into the hairpin following that, which absolutely scuppered my lap times. I didn't look up a hot lap in the first session. I was planning on doing a session just trying to figure it out by myself and then watching a hot lap after that, but so far the track has been majority hairpins, but then we get to this interesting part of the track right here where someone has decided to essentially put the handbrake on for some reason and go roughly the same speed as a paper plane. However, I managed to not spin, find my way past, hit the speed boost button again in the wrong place, and, well, as far as lapping goes, at the moment I'm not enjoying it, but that's because, well, I'm doing it wrong and most of the track is the same corner. I'm sure it will improve when I finally figure out that I'm not supposed to be using the speed boost there, but for now, let's just wrap this up, shall we? But before we do wrap it up, here's one more reason why you shouldn't use the speed boost here. As I come barreling towards the first corner, I absolutely overcook it and basically just find myself facing the wrong way. Once I know the track is clear, I rotate myself easily enough, facing the correct way again, but I believe the session has now actually come to an end. So let's just pull into the pits and get told off by a marshal?
If you're facing the wrong way, stay where you are. If you're facing the wrong way, stay where you are.
Okay.
Right? So I'd rather someone hit you from the side than hit you head on.
Right.
Right?
Well, I wouldn't call that being told off. I guess he does have a point, but I've never been on a track that operates in that kind of way. Normally it's, if you can get yourself going again, do so safely, but I guess it does make sense for a track like this to essentially make people who have span to wait to be recovered.
The layout, it's kind of boring. You come through here, hairpin, 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 up ramp, hairpin, left turn, down ramp, hairpin, hairpin.
There's no fast. No.
There's not really any like, this is supposed to be the fastest bit. I think this is where you're supposed to use the speed boost.
Yeah.
I have to look up I've not looked up a lap at this track before.
Apparently, my little cousin thought that my driving standards were so terrible, he effectively just told me to sit down once I got off track. But yes, my sentiments towards that track were kind of echoed in that little conversation I had between my dad and my granddad, which was, it's kind of mid. However, there were numerous things I was doing wrong. For instance, boosting in the wrong place, which of course was absolutely scuppering my entry into turn 1, which of course led to that little spin. So what I did, after I had this little photo op with my cousin, was look up a hot lap, figure out exactly where I was going wrong, and then graciously be fast-tracked onto the next session because it was quieter. Even though I don't like this track very much, the staff here were actually great, so I want to give a shout out to this man right here. I believe his name is Reese, because that's the name on the back of his vest. He ran a pretty tight ship. He did seem kind of strict, but, well, he kept the place running pretty well, and he fast-tracked me onto a quieter session, so thank you, Reese. So, as I took my seat in my car, with some new knowledge fresh in my brain, it was eventually time to get back out on track and see if a brand new perspective of it would help me improve my perception of it. which was unlikely, honestly, but we'll see. So the lights go green and I finally set off, and this kart is feeling strangely slow for some reason. So I check between my legs to make sure I haven't lost my edge and realize
This is on speed 2.
for whatever reason, this kart specifically was on speed 2 when I had left the pits. So fortunately, I had not become a tractor in between sessions, I was just driving one. However, when I cross the line, that's going to be fixed, so all is well. What I've got now here, though, is my first attempt at a clean lap with the guys in front of me kind of being too far ahead to cause trouble for me for now. And one of the things that I picked up from watching the hot lap was the fact that I'm supposed to be boosting right here to aid my traction on the up ramp as well as the part of the track that is the most grippiest. There's pretty much no grip up here either, but to be honest, this is where you're going to get the most use out of the speed boost. Also, I'm diving directly for the first apex of the double hairpins because trying to take it like a traditional hairpin just slows me down. I, for some reason, can't seem to sign into the Bournemouth section of the TeamSport app to find out what my times were, but I know for a fact that my time in this session was 7/10 faster. I believe it was somewhere close to a 33 dead, if my memory serves me correctly, which probably isn't the fastest lap of all time, but it's decent enough, and it does represent strides of improvement. But now I've caught up to the back of these two, and I need to find my way past. However, I look for a gap that is not there for some reason, basically just letting this guy fly ahead of me. And this dude in front of me, well, I know he's in the TeamSport garb, but appearances can be deceiving, because this dude was actually quite difficult to keep up with. However, he is being held up by the dude in the white and orange helmet up ahead of him, so I need to capitalize on that and maybe try and get past him. He wastes absolutely no time finding the inside after the guy in the white and orange helmet decides to take the think different line going through that corner. However, I don't have the exit speed coming out of the second hairpin to capitalize on his mistake, so now my battle has shifted to this individual in front of me. I'm looking for gaps and I'm having to brake here because, well, that obviously wasn't going to work. I look for the tiniest little gap here and accidentally clip the barrier of the apex, and then I find the tiniest little gap here to kind of set up the move going into this corner. I dive directly to the hairpin apex right here and immediately set off after the guy who essentially has just taken off into the distance. He clearly knows what he's doing, so let's see if I can catch him anyway. A lap later, I've caught up to the back of him here, and I attempt to set up a switchback move coming into the final hairpin, but he holds the inside line quite tightly, blocking me off, whether intentionally or not, which means that he is actually proving to be a rather formidable opponent. He carefully wraps his way around that apex there, but he's kind of holding the inside lines on his exits, so I need to make a rather audacious move to get by. So I hit the speed boost button coming to the up ramp, immediately dive to the inside, find the gap, hit the apex, and that move was so clean that even the marshal over there thought so, flashing me a nice move board, which, that's nice. I enjoy when that happens. It boosts my confidence. As promised by the marshal who fast-tracked me onto this session was indeed rather quiet. So, a little bit later into the session, this is where I finally catch up to the big backlog of traffic that's going on over here. As we are slowly coasting under yellows, I'm looking for the opportunity on Kart 18 over there, as I come side by side with him, but not completely overtaking him on the yellows, just waiting for the opportunity to pounce. And the lights go green, I'm already on the inside, I make the move happen. This guy on the outside just manages to hold his position, so now I need to chase after him. He hits the brakes here in order to avoid the guy in the white and orange helmet again. He's already looking at the inside. I accidentally bump into the back of him there because I put too much power on. However, I feel like I'm going to make a move happen eventually. He finds the inside line on the guy in the white and orange helmet. I hold the inside line coming towards the up ramp hairpin, effectively meaning I have scythed my way through the traffic, and now the track is clear once more. Let's get a couple more done just before the final lap actually happens. So there's these two here racing side by side. I managed to find the inside line on the first one, and then mash the speed boost button to dive to the inside line on the second one. This seems to be the best overtaking point on the entire track, because the majority of my overtakes seem to be happening here, especially ones under actual race trim. Any ones that happen elsewhere just seem to be people who can't seem to get a grip of the track, which honestly I get, because this track was unbelievably slippery, and these electric karts are a handful on low traction circuits if you're inexperienced. However, the session has finally come to a close, so it's time to pull into the pits, and I'll give you my closing thoughts on TeamSport's brand new track. So, official verdict on TeamSport Bournemouth. It's one of the karting tracks of all time, and when I say something like that, I don't mean to be facetious. It's by no means a compliment, but it's not an insult either. It's a karting track, and honestly, it's a fine karting track at that. But in a roster of frankly amazing karting tracks that TeamSport actually has, this, as a brand new track with millions and millions of pounds being pumped into it, is kind of a disappointment. To be honest, the best part about this experience for me was actually one of the things I despise the most about some tracks, which is the fact that it is a low traction drive. I usually despise low traction drives because they feel slow and awkward and just an absolute mess on public sessions. But this right here was what made this frankly boring track layout kind of come alive. And if TeamSport Bournemouth ever actually grips up, it's going to actually lose a lot of value as a karting track. Don't get me wrong, there are some parts of this track that are actually a lot of fun, my favourite of the entire track being this down ramp into the double hairpins, where it's actually a rather thrilling dive to the first hairpin, and if you're brave enough you can actually set up a lot of cool moves here. But, well, it's just a lot of hairpins. That's all it is. Is it worth the travel all the way down to the arse of England to come here? No, it's not, but if you're here in Bournemouth giving it a go, well, it's worth just checking it out if you're already there. However, I would not come back here unless I'm already in Bournemouth, and frankly, if this track does grip up, it's gonna lose a lot of value. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. This one was kind of a laid-back one because, well, not every single session I have is an absolute cinematic masterpiece, let's be honest. But I decided for the next video, it's going to be a little recap of my race at Daytona Tamworth, which could not have gone more wrong if I tried. See, I don't win all the time. I have been uploading a lot of successes lately, but I do have my overwhelming failures, and in that video, you are going to see that in full force. So, thank you very much for watching this, and I'm looking forward to showing you the next one. Until next time.